And while he may be busy at the G20, Donald Trump is still managing to keep a close eye on and tweet about the Democratic debates back in the U.S. Last night, 10 presidential hopefuls faced off in the second debate of the primary season. Healthcare, immigration, climate change, and race were all key issues on the agenda, some of them sparking heated discussions. And the CBC's Lindsay Duncombe joins us once again after being up late watching the second of the two nights. Tell us about what some of the candidates had to say about their discussions and what stood out last night.
Well, you know you've had a good night at one of these debates when you are the person that everyone is talking about on the American network political shows. So the person that had a good night last night is Kamala Harris, the senator from California. And she had a good night because of one exchange in particular where she went after the frontrunner, Joe Biden, and she went after him on race, addressing specifically Joe Biden's opposition to busing back in the 1970s. Busing is when students from African-American neighborhoods would be bused into majority white neighborhoods to have an integrated educational approach. And when Kamala Harris criticized Joe Biden's history on this issue, she made it personal. Here's what it sounded like.
And that little girl was me. So I will tell you that on this subject, it cannot be an intellectual debate among Democrats. We have to take it seriously. We have to act swiftly.
It's a mischaracterization of my position across the board. I did not praise racist. That is not true.
Now, you can tell that this was a very planned for and calculated moment by the former prosecutor, former Attorney General of California, and her team, because she delivered that line and others related to race. And then not long after that, on her website, they were selling this T-shirt. What you'll see is a picture of Harris in pigtails and that line, "That little girl was me." So showing some political skill. And political skill is something that Democrats really want as they look ahead in this race, because what they are looking for is someone who can go against Donald Trump. So that is an audition when it comes to these debates. Can the candidates really show that they're the person that can handle Trump in a general election?
And going after one of Biden's strengths, one that he has traditionally done well with the African-American community. But let's say who else went after Biden, because he was the main target last night, wasn't he?
And that's what happens when you're the front runner. Everyone tries to bring you down, especially when they're kind of at the back of the pack. And that's what happened with Eric Swalwell. He is someone who is younger, 38 years old, and he said his pitch was for generational change. Here's what he said.
I was 6 years old when a presidential candidate came to the California Democratic Convention and said, "It's time to pass the torch to a new generation of Americans." That candidate was then Senator Joe Biden. Joe Biden was right when he said it was time to pass the torch to a new generation of Americans 32 years ago. He's still right today. If we're going to solve the issues of automation, pass the torch.
So this is a question of generational change. It's also a question of ideology, because what we've seen from many of these candidates, from Bernie Sanders to Elizabeth Warren, is a shift of the party to the left, and how far left do voters want to go. So those two aspects of this, the generational choice and the ideological choice, became very apparent over the last two nights. And guess what, John? We get to do it all over again in just a few weeks. In fact, there will be 11 more of these debates before anyone casts a single vote.
Lots more work for you to do, but thanks for this one, Lindsay. CBC's Lindsay Duncombe in Washington.